Good afternoon, folks. How's it hanging? All right. 10 after 4. Today is Tuesday, January 7th. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Position disclosure, I got all my positions confirmed, all my sizing confirmed. That's good. I got out of SOUN short on the downside today. Everything else should be the same. All right. Let's have a look at what happened today. Market got smoked. So SPY is closing down over a percentage point. So we're keeping our realized vol number high, which can enable additional selling to come into the market. Q's down 1.7, not good. IWM down 0.75% after yesterday's kind of push through failure of the resistance of the bear flag that the Russell's been in. TLT, real problem. We mentioned it in yesterday's afternoon meeting. If the TLT continues to hold beneath 87, starts to give continuation of this bear flag pattern that it's in, and interest rates continue to accelerate, we got a problem. That's what happened. It's probably worth circling back to that. And the dollar was up, which also is not good for equities. So, yeah, pretty rough day out there. In some ways, when I think about the interest rates, which we were just talking about here, with the 10-year now exceeding that 4.6% threshold that we had discussed previously, it had come from a Goldman note that could potentially be like a catalyst that begins to have a much larger effect on the equity market. When I actually think about the fact that the 10 years trading at that level and that the TLT, I remember originally we were looking at these November lows, that if these November lows begin to break in the TLT, you might have a problem. And, well, we're well below those lows. We broke below those lows middle of December, bear flagged out the rest of December, and started to continue to the downside yesterday and today. When you think about that in the context of the SPY, it's impressive to me that we're still trading above this 580 support level that we've been discussing. Yet we are. The bulls gave that equal low, gave a pretty good bounce back. Yesterday's high, we had it cited in yesterday's afternoon meeting, again in the morning meeting today. No problem, Robert. We said that today's high is a problem for bears, and it's a great thing for bulls if the market can get above that level. Today we actually had a little bit of a gap up. I think we were gapping up like 0.3% or so in the SPYs when I was doing the morning meeting. And I said I was a little concerned, honestly, with the gap up that we might accelerate and get above yesterday's high and get above 600, and that would put the bulls back into control. But technically, you have a common gap up after an upside tail. That is something that you want to short. And even though I was a little bit nervous that the bulls could break this market higher, we did say that the better thing to do in this environment still, until and unless we can get above yesterday's high, is to lean short on this market and to short the gap up. So if anybody was shorting the gap up in the SPYs or the Qs or almost any stock versus yesterday's high, which is a big thing that was discussed in the morning meeting today, it worked out pretty well. We continue to have these lower highs coming in the SPYs and the Qs, but we still have not actually broken into an official downtrend on the daily chart for the indexes, because a downtrend is a pattern of lower highs and lower lows. We have lower highs, but we have not had any lower lows. So the question after today's sell-off, which was a pretty bad sell-off, it's a pretty damning looking candle for the market, is does this lead now over the course of the next several trading sessions? I'd be surprised if we broke 580 tomorrow. It's not outside the realm of possibility if we want to be really weak. The ADMA on the daily chart is at 591, so if we were breaking 580 tomorrow, we would just be getting to that extreme extension zone. But the question now is, after today's pretty damning candle and yesterday's pivot high into that $600 area, is do we actually break support lows in the SPYs, Qs, and the IWM that then fulfills a technical reversal pattern where we have gone then from a pattern of higher highs and higher lows that we've been in for basically ever since, in some ways you could say maybe with a couple fits and starts, we've been in a pattern of higher highs and higher lows since October 2023. This would be the first time that pattern, maybe not the first time, I guess we had a little bit of a blip back in July where we had a brief period of lower highs and lower lows coming in, but this could be a pretty significant break lower that becomes a trend reversal. And then we got to start looking at downside targets on a trend reversal and measuring our extension rules and asking ourselves at a certain point, does the 200-day come back into play? We're pretty far away from that. We still haven't even broken the 580 area yet, but so one step at a time. But this market is not looking good after today. Interest rates are becoming a real concern at this point, and we've been speaking about the potential of interest rates becoming a concern for this market for 2 months now, and it's finally starting to really manifest itself. But we'll see if those support levels break. So for the SPYs, that's that 580. For the Qs, it's still this 510 area on a closing basis, so very similar pattern here for the Qs. And for the IWM is a little bit of a different pattern. It's been more of a bear flag pattern and tried to break out above that yesterday, but was unable to do so on a closing basis. So we still got to watch this 218 zone on the downside for the Russell. But yeah, a pretty brutal day for the market. I think that the play of the day today was the call out on Palantir through that like $75 area support. It broke early, it broke hard, it was relatively weak yesterday, it was gave good downside continuation. I really hope that no one got pushed out on the open. I actually thought that breakdown was a little bit tricky off the open, and I was trading it. Let me see if I can actually look at a 2-minute chart just to see if I can see that quick move down and up. Yeah, this made this tricky off the open. The first 5-minute bar, when you look at it, just looks like a clean, solid negative Maribozu breakdown candlestick on the 5-minute that then sets off the selling down to the next level of support of $70 in Palantir. But it was actually tricky if you shorted that off the open because it broke and then very quickly made a new high all within that same 5-minute candle before then breaking again. So I hope that no one shorted and got shaken out of that. I'm a big fan. I think we've spoken about this a lot in the past, maybe not not recently, but I'm a big fan on these like momentum break trades that you don't actually have your stop loss in at the high of the bar until the ADMA catches up to the price of that high. So if you followed that, then you would not have gotten shaken out when this new high actually breaks. If you just said, "Oh my gosh, it's breaking," and shorted and put your stop at the high, that would probably be pretty painful for you mentally. So I really hope that didn't happen to anybody, because you would have gotten stopped out of a short basically at the high of the day before it worked $5+ in your favor. So kind of think that was the trade of the day. I guess we could take a quick look at these quantum names. They still won't fully break. That's even with getting some market help today. It's crazy to me that on a day like today when they seemed that they sold everything, that they still can't break these quantum stocks. Again, this RGTI, $8 million in revenue in the first 3 quarters of 2024, $5.5 billion valuation approximately, broadly speaking, in this area. Stock has gone from $1.30 at the end of November to $21, and they can't break. They still can't break this stuff. It's incredible to me. I mean, obviously it's a red day for them. We got a little bit of follow through after the upside tail in this RGTI yesterday, but this still is not a real break. On a day like today, when the market cracked and there was weakness in these stocks, I said it at one point in the VTF. I was like, RGTI is down 6%. It should be down 26% on a day like today. A day like today is when, if you've been trading long enough, you've seen it, when these parabolic stocks come in like this, and then you get that nasty negative Maribozu engulfing candle. Like you could see a stock like RGTI trade down to $13 today, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. I would be less surprised if on a day like today, RGTI traded from 20 to 13 all in one candle than I am the fact that RGTI only traded from 20 to 18. That to me, that's wild, but these names still can't break. Yeah, IonQ, I see David mentioning out of the corner of my eye here, was trying to give this day 4. I actually love this pattern. It was a day 4 RDR, though. Day 3, day 4 RDR, upside tail, breaking back through yesterday's high, and a lot of times that's actually a great, dare I say, topping pattern for these types of stocks, or at least a retracement pattern for these types of stocks. So we'll see if this IonQ can give further follow through. But this IonQ, I mean, market got smoked today, and you would think that that selling just goes to everywhere, and especially goes to some of these biggest, highest flyers. And the stock still isn't even down to the 80 MA on the daily chart, let alone the 21. So I would actually argue that these quantum names and some of these AI names are overall continuing to hold in really well. The one that broke, though, what's the one that broke? The one that broke is the one that we saw the most amount of bearish option flow come in, starting on Friday, a little bit more of it yesterday. It just goes to show you the importance of paying attention to continued flow, not necessarily just seeing one large order option flow come in on a stock, but seeing continued flow. A lot of times that becomes a signal that the break is really actually coming. And we have not seen that in the RGTIs of the world, but we did see that in SOUN starting on Friday. We started seeing on Friday a lot of good consistent bear flow coming in, and then guess what? This is the weak one. This is the one that actually broke down on its daily chart, broke through this $19 support, gave continuation. I'm out of it. My target on this was relatively shallow. I was just looking for a move to 17 and change, and I got that today. But I do think it's possible for this SOUN to work its way, I said this yesterday, down to $15, $16. I think is very reasonable if anybody's being more aggressive on this SOUN than I'm being. I'm being a little bit more aggressive on some of the other ones that can't seem to break for whatever reason. You look at like QUBT, another one. I'm not in this one. Continues to be able to hold up. Very impressive. QMCO broke down a little bit today, but considering the fact that this isn't even actually a quantum computing stock, it just has quantum in the name, the fact it's mind-blowing to me that this is still trading at 45, even at this point. I've avoided shorting this one just because it's been one of the more low floaters. My game plan from the beginning was to focus on the ones that have the larger floats, because you never really know at these low floaters just how bad they can be to the upside when they're running them up in the way that they have. So that continues to be a big focus for me on my trading every day. I mean, I'm trading boatloads of RGTI every single day. I'm also still in this QBTS. QBTS looks great. I hate to say it, I'm short. It looks great. This thing didn't even break yesterday's low. Didn't even break the ADMA. Didn't even break yesterday's low. Holding in like an absolute champion. I mean, it's really impressive to me how well these stocks are holding in. But I'm continuing to focus on them. XLE also continues to be a big focus. You gotta love the relative strength in XLE. We had called for that rotation trade into the Santa Claus rally period, where we see the Teslas and the Palantirs begin to sell, and we see the XLEs begin to get bought up a little bit. And that trade, as a pairs trade, if you want to call it that, has worked out phenomenally well. You know, pretty much at the same time here, December 23rd, around that time approximately, not the exact same day for every stock, is when we started saying, wow, this extreme downside extension into these XLE names, which is probably also some tax selling coming in. I think that we could see a real reversion bounce in the energies of the world, while seeing a real sell come in on the Teslas and these Palantirs of the world. And that is exactly what's happened. So if you've been on that side of the trade, I have been. It's been great. I've got a good amount of exposure on the long side on the XLEs of the world through Chevron, VAL, this BORR that I'm in. Also was able to do extremely well with Tesla short. I'm all out of that. Still have a lot of Palantir short. Finally, really got rewarded for that today, and it's just been a really good trade. So we'll see how this stuff continues to play out. Market today certainly a little bit broken, but that's pretty much all that I've got. I am happy to, sorry, just clearing my throat a little bit. I am happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. Starting with the VTF, like always, not really seeing anything new in here. Seeing Dennis just say a symbol, but not sure what you mean by it. SANA, just crazy stock ripping up after hours. Yeah, SANA looks like it's a news, trading up big after hours. So popping over to the YouTube, I have a longer question here from Robert on XPEV, so we can try to take a look at this. I have not traded XPEV in quite some time. You sent me an email with the chart. There's a lot to digest in this chart, but it looks like you're sending me an intraday chart, probably a 5-minute chart in here. And let me read what you're saying. For the last couple months, I started implementing volume to my execution decisions. Overall, after a couple months of journaling volume analysis, I can see a solid advantage to stay focused on volume. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I think volume is an important factor to pay attention to in your trading execution. Can you break it down a bit more, your volume chart approach? How important is it for you? Increased volume at major levels versus random price, igniting volume versus ending volume. How would you time your execution around volume? Oftentimes, the biggest portion of volume candles is drawn in the last 5-minute candle. That's because the last 5-minute candle typically encompasses, and this is me saying it, I'm no longer reading the question. The last 5-minute candle of the day, if that's what you mean here, is taking in the MOC into play, the closing print. I know you don't wait for the candle to get closed, but then you're missing the full picture of the volume candle. All right, let me circle back to that. If you look at my XPEV screenshot, so Robert here sent me over a screenshot. IonQ getting hit here a little bit, RGTI getting hit here a little bit. Just got to keep an eye on these. If you take a look at my XPEV screenshot with description, feel free to bring it on the screen so others can see it as well. Is my volume analysis good? All right, let me bring this over then. Is my volume analysis good? Despite XPEV doesn't look the best from the daily chart, I can try to put it together some playbook with volume examples so you can focus more on that. All right, there's a lot going on here. So before I keep reading this, let me try to unpack some of this a little bit. I also just got to pay a bit of attention to some of my trades because I got things moving here. Okay. So first of all, I think volume is really important. I in some ways, am a fairly simple trader. In other ways, I've become increasingly complex, but in some ways, I'm a fairly simple trader. I like to look at Japanese candlesticks, volume, and a couple moving averages that are important to me. That's it. That's what I pay attention to. And volume is really important to me. The last minute of each 5-minute candle, you see an uptick in volume. I've never noticed that. So the volume profile is really important to me. I don't necessarily do as much of a volume analysis. Sorry, hold on, I gotta get some bids in this IonQ. IonQ getting smoked here after hours. Does anyone see news in this? The degree to which it's selling here looks like there's news. Oh, Jensen negative on quantum. Wow. Okay. You wouldn't expect that, I wouldn't think, but okay. Sorry, I gotta trade this a little bit here, even while I talk. It's gonna just cost me too much money otherwise. If this stuff is moving on news, I have to kind of be involved in it. I've just been risking too much money on this stuff to not get paid if it's starting to really work here. Thirteen's a target. I got a lot of bids out before that. 13's been my my target. I think 8's been my target actually in this RGTI, but we'll take it one step at a time. Ion Q getting smoked. QBTS getting hit. Got it. Got it. All right. Shit, how am I going to answer your question? I keep getting filled on stuff. I have such aggressive game plans on these names. That's why I've been trading like a crazy, like, here, let me bring up these charts. Oh, hold on, I just gotta fill these on Q again. So let me get a couple more bids out in this RGTI. Let's go. Let's go, Jensen Huang. My guy. A little bit of a bounce back now. We're not going to do an afternoon meeting tomorrow because the market's closed on Thursday. Let me just get it out there real quick. I don't do afternoon meetings when the market's closed the next day. Apologies in advance. I was about to say I'll answer Robert's question tomorrow because all right, Josh volunteered. So Josh volunteered. We probably will have an afternoon meeting tomorrow unless he wimps out. Josh coming through for the Wednesday presidential special afternoon meeting tomorrow. Thank you, Josh. Everyone really appreciates it. If our GTI trades at 13 tomorrow, fine, I'll do a meeting. The Jimmy Carter special from Josh. So let's try to pull up your question again here. The bottom line is, I think that volume is a very important confirming factor. For me, one of the most important things I like to look at is elevated general volume, because that means to me that the stock is in play. I do pay attention to volume patterns to some degree, which is what you are describing very heavily in this email. I pay attention to volume patterns to some degree, but especially when you're with the midday price action, I don't pay attention too much on a volume uptick. One thing that you got to be a little bit careful of that I think throws volume off, especially midday, is like some weird out-of-market dark pool prints, where all of a sudden it's like, all right, you got a little bit of a volume spike, not a massive volume spike, a little bit of a volume spike midday, maybe even possibly like this little uptick one that you have here at 1 o'clock. I know it does correspond with an increase in the chart, But sometimes, and this is actually pretty good because it's increasing on every candle. But sometimes if you just get like this one right here, this one right here, where you just have this random uptick of volume on this candle, a lot of the times that's not because really increased volume actually came in. It's because there was like a singular or even multiple out of the market dark pool prints that are causing like an elevation in volume on that candle, and then it's actually not significant at all. So you want to make sure that what you're looking at is significant. I don't like to overread volume pattern analysis midday, but being honest with you, it's not something I've spent like a massive amount of time studying over the course of my career. So there's a good chance that if you work hard on this, that you could get a better grasp on it than I have, and that would be awesome because then you could teach me. So if you want to continue to keep volume journals like you've been doing so diligently and teach the team here a little bit, I love to learn. So there could certainly be more to it than even what I look at with my own trading. Let's go. They're crushing these stocks right now. I gotta get more bids out in this Ion Q. Wow. My P&L is starting to borderline on one of my best days ever here. Just kind of cool. If this stuff continues to sell. I still got a lot. I gotta get more bids out in this RGTI. Again, I cover some every 10 cents. You could probably see that with my executions there. Ion Q every 25 cents. I should be able to cover a little bit of RGTI every 10 cents down to a hypothetical 8 if I want to push it that hard. Until 0, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I'd be fine with 8. I'd be fine with 13, but 8's really been the target. Now I got my buddy Jensen coming through here. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing, AN. The red dots are short sale dots. The green dots are buy dots for these names. Yeah, I could get a little greedy. I'm not. I don't really change game plans after I'm in trades though. So, kind of a rule. Because I think it's dangerous to do that because you get very subjective in the moment on a trade. When you create the game plan, you're able to be more objective about realistic expectations, realistic risk, things like that. When you make decisions or adjust game plans in the trade, you tend to, from my experience, do it a little bit more emotionally. And I can tell you, with the amount of money I'm up right now, it's tough to not be a little bit emotional. So I don't want to make decisions based on my P&L or how I feel. I want to make decisions based on the preset game plan that I've established for myself for these trades. RGTI, a little pop. Yeah, Robert, it's kind of the quick answer to the question that you gave there. I hope that helps. It really comes down to what I was saying. I pay attention to volume. I think it's one of the most important factors to pay attention to in trading. Never have necessarily done a huge volume analysis to the degree to which you have described in your email to me today, but it is something that I do think should be a part to some degree or another of all traders' game. And that's it. So thank you for the question there, Robert. From Tate, is today the first sign of Mag 7 not being invincible against rates? I'm not sure. I think it's early. The Qs haven't broken the downtrend yet. So it's a little bit difficult to say. I do think, though, that at a certain point, selling gets spread out, right? That's what we see. Correlations increase on the way down. So if rates cause a sell-off for most of the market, it probably at a certain point becomes all of the market. From Cyril, IWM had relative strength compared to the Qs. Sorry, 1 second. Oh shit, I just double covered this. Made a small mistake there. Alright, so cover 2. See that step in shorty in RGTI at 1701? That's those they keep coming in. They're having to short on the offer because of the uptick rule in a circuit broken stock, which I wasn't sure if that, I can't remember if that even applies after hours, but based on what I'm seeing in the tape, it certainly does. Oh, I see what I did there. 996 bid. There we go. QBTS still going? Why is QBTS holding in so much better? Don't worry, I'm leaving some. I'm looking for 35 an IonQ. I'm looking for realistically at least a 21 EMA on RGTI, if not more. QBTS, I'm looking for under 8, somewhere under 8. Thanks, Robert. Oh man, am I gonna be trading these all night? All right, I started to read Cyril's question. IWM and relative strength compared to the Qs in the second half of the day. What could be the reason? I don't know. I don't know. It could just be Qs playing catch up. I really don't know. Apex Joy is asking me if ARM looks like a good swing short. Sorry. QBTS just broke a little lower there. That's what I was waiting for. I don't know. This ARM is still very range bound, and it's overall pretty strong here. The semiconductors had a few really strong days. I don't necessarily think it's a good swing short. It's very range bound. You could try to swing short versus the 155 resistance, but you really need this like 125, 130 support to break in that stock for that to start looking like a better short to me. Yeah, at least the 21 EMA, Rich. At least the 21 EMA. I'm gonna reassess my game plan in RGTI at the 21 EMA is kind of been my plan on how greedy I want to be on the target on that. I hope that helps Apex Joy, that quick analysis. It's going pretty good, Liam. Thanks for asking. Okay, that kind of covers the questions in the YouTube for now. Again, just a little bit of a distracted afternoon meeting, which is not necessarily what I planned for, but sometimes you get lucky and news comes out after hours and the things that you're short. So, anybody else have anything for today? Otherwise, I will wrap it up, even though I'm probably not going anywhere. All right, cool. I'm going to call it a meeting there. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow.